The devil wore a white collar. How Father Benedict met his end. I still remember the smell. That mix of incense and fear that hung in the air of St. Mary's confession box. I was 12 when I realized that some monsters don't hide under beds. They stand at altars. Let me tell you about Father Benedict. This happened in my village back in the early 2000s. Our village sat right next to St. Mary's Secondary School, a big boarding school where girls from all over the region came to study. The school had about 800 students and the church was right there on the compound. You couldn't separate the two. Sunday Mass was mandatory. Confession was mandatory and Father Benedict was in charge of it all. When Father Benedict first arrived in 2001, everyone loved him. I mean, everyone. He was young for a priest, maybe 35, with a soft voice and kind eyes. He spoke our local language perfectly, even though he came from the capital city. He would visit homes, bless babies, settle family disputes. My mother used to say, "That man is a saint walking among us." The schoolgirls especially loved him. He started a choir just for them. He organized extra catechism classes on Saturday evenings. He would stay late after confession, counseling girls who had problems. The nuns who ran the school thought it was wonderful. Finally, a priest who cares about these children's souls, they would say. But I knew better. My sister Amaka was in Form 3 when Father Benedict arrived. She was 15, smart as anything, always had her nose in a book. She wanted to be a doctor. Our father had died 2 years before, and our mother sold vegetables in the market to pay Amaka's school fees. Everything we had went into that education. About 6 months after Father Benedict came, Amaka changed. She stopped eating much. She would cry at night when she thought I was asleep. She stopped talking about becoming a doctor. When she came home for holidays, she wouldn't go to church anymore. My mother thought she was just being a difficult teenager. One night, I woke up and had her sobbing in the bathroom. I went to check on her, and when she came out, her eyes were red and swollen. "Amaka, what's wrong?" I asked. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said, "Promise me something, little brother. When you have daughters one day, never let them go to confession alone. Never trust a man just because he wears that collar." I didn't understand then. I was only 12. Father Benedict had a system. I learned this later when everything came out. He would target specific girls, the ones from poor families, the ones whose fathers were dead, the ones who were shy and wouldn't speak up. During confession, he would ask them very personal questions about their bodies, about boys, about touching themselves. He would make them describe things in detail. Then he would tell them they needed special prayers to cleanse their souls. Those prayers happened in his private quarters behind the church. The first time, he would just touch them, inappropriately. He would tell them it was part of the blessing, that God walked through his hands. The second time, it would go further. By the third time, these girls were trapped. He would tell them that if they spoke up, no one would believe them, that they would call them liars, that they would be expelled from school, that their families would be shamed. And he was right to think that, because that's exactly what happened to the first girl who tried to speak up. Her name was Chioma. She was 16. She told one of the nuns what Father Benedict had done to her. The nun slapped her across the face and told her to go wash her mouth out with soap for lying about a man of God. Chioma was sent home in disgrace. Her parents beat her for bringing shame to the family. She never came back to school. After that, none of the other girls dared to speak. This went on for 3 years. 3 years. At least 15 girls that we know of, maybe more who never came forward even after. Father Benedict was smart. He never picked too many girls from the same class. He spaced things out. He would be extra nice to the parents of the girls he was abusing, visiting their homes, bringing gifts, offering to pay some of their school fees from church charity funds. These families praised him even more. "See how Father Benedict has blessed our daughter," they would say. Meanwhile, their daughters were dying inside. Amaka tried to tell our mother once, in a roundabout way. She said, "Mama, I don't think Father Benedict is a good man." My mother got so angry. "How dare you speak about a priest that way? Is this what school is teaching you? To disrespect men of God?" Amaka never brought it up again. But then Father Benedict made a mistake. He went after the wrong girl. Her name was Ebere. She was 17, in Form 5, about to write her final exams. But here's the thing about Ebere. Her uncle was a police commissioner in the state capital. Her family had money and connections. She wasn't like the other girls he usually picked. I don't know why he chose her. Maybe he got too confident. Maybe he thought 3 years of getting away with it meant he was untouchable. Maybe he just got greedy. He called Ebere for confession on a Friday evening in November 2004. He tried his usual tricks, the inappropriate questions, the guilt, the offer of special prayers in his quarters. But Ebere had heard whispers. The older girls talked sometimes, in coded language. She knew what special prayers meant. When Father Benedict touched her during that confession, she bit his hand hard, drew blood. Then she ran out of that confession box screaming at the top of her lungs. The whole school heard her. Father Benedict tried to spin it. He came out of the confession box holding his bleeding hand, saying Ebere had gone mad, that she was possessed by demons and had attacked him for no reason. He said they needed to call her parents to come and take her for spiritual deliverance. But Ebere wasn't like Chioma. She didn't back down. She stood in the middle of that church compound and screamed the truth. She told everyone what he had tried to do. She told them about the other girls. She named names. The nuns tried to quiet her down. Some of the teachers tried to drag her away, but the students had gathered. They were listening. And some of the older girls, the ones who had been victims, started crying. Right there. Their tears told the story their mouths couldn't. Ebere's uncle arrived the next morning with 4 police officers. When the police started investigating, everything unraveled. Girls started talking, slowly at first, then like a dam breaking. They found things in Father Benedict's quarters, photographs, diaries where he recorded what he did to each girl, even some recordings. The man had kept evidence, like he was proud of it, like he thought he would never get caught. My sister Amaka finally told our mother everything. My mother collapsed. She cried for 3 days straight. "I sent my daughter to that monster," she kept saying. "I forced her to go to him." The bishop tried to move Father Benedict to another parish quietly. Like they do. But Ebere's uncle wasn't having it. He arrested Father Benedict right there in the church office, put handcuffs on him in front of everyone. I was there that day. I saw it. Father Benedict was crying, begging, saying he would change, that the devil had tempted him. But his collar couldn't save him this time. The trial took almost a year. The church tried everything to protect him. They brought in fancy lawyers from the capital city. They tried to discredit the girls, calling them loose and immoral. They said the girls were making it up because they had failed exams or been disciplined for bad behavior. But there were too many girls, too many stories that matched, too much evidence. In the end, 23 girls testified. 23! And those were just the ones brave enough to come forward. Father Benedict was convicted on 18 counts of sexual assault of minors. The judge gave him 25 years in prison. "You used your position of power and trust to prey on the most vulnerable," the judge said. "You are not a man of God. You are a predator." But here is where the story gets dark in a different way. Father Benedict never made it to the federal prison where he was supposed to serve his sentence. The prison transport van he was in had to stop overnight at a local police station because of some paperwork issue. This was in a small town about 100 kilometers from our village. That night, someone broke into the holding cell where Father Benedict was kept. They found him the next morning, dead. He had been beaten severely. But here's the thing. he wasn't just beaten. According to the police report, which my sister's friend from works there showed us, someone had carved words on his chest with a knife. Child rapist. The official report said it was mob justice, that local people had somehow gotten into the police station and killed him. The investigation went nowhere. No one was ever arrested. But people in our village whispered other stories. Some said it was the fathers and brothers of the girls he had abused, that they had planned it together, that they had paid off the police officers on duty to look the other way. Others said it was something else entirely. My grandmother told me this part. She's old now, almost 80, but she remembers everything. She said that on the night Father Benedict died, 3 old women from our village traveled to that town.
These were women known for other things, the kind of things the church says don't exist, but everyone knows about. Traditional practices, old ways. Some evils are too big for the white man's courts, my grandmother said. Some justice requires older methods. She wouldn't say more than that, but I remember something from that week. I remember my sister Amaka going into the forest with these old women one night. When she came back, she looked different, lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted. When we heard the news about Father Benedict's death, Amaka didn't cry. She didn't celebrate either. She just said, "It's finished." Many years have passed now. I'm 35, married with 2 daughters of my own. Amaka became a social worker instead of a doctor. She works with abused children. She never got married, never had kids. Something broke in her that never quite healed. The church eventually paid compensation to some of the families. Not enough, never enough. They sent a new priest, an old man this time, very careful. The school is still there. Different nuns run it now. They have strict protocols about confession, about girls never being alone with male church staff. But the trauma stays. I see it when I visit home. Some of those girls are women now, in their 30s and 40s. Some turn to alcohol. Some can't maintain relationships. One took her own life 5 years ago. The damage Father Benedict didn't end with his death. My grandmother died last year. Before she passed, she told me something. "Your sister asked me to tell you this when the time was right," she said. "That night, when we went to that town, we didn't go to kill him. We went to make sure that whatever he was, whatever evil he carried, would die with him, that it wouldn't attach itself to anyone else." "Did it work?" I asked. She smiled. "You tell me, have you heard of any other priest doing such things in our area since then?" "I haven't. Make of that what you will." I'm telling this story now because I see it happening again. Different places, different faces, same pattern. Men in positions of power, priests, teachers, pastors, coaches, using their authority to abuse children. And people staying silent because they don't want to believe their religious leaders could do such things. If you take nothing else from this story, take this. Trust is earned, not given because of a title or a collar. Watch for the signs. Listen to children when they try to tell you something is wrong, even if they can't say it directly. Believe victims, especially when the abuser seems too good to do such things. And remember, every monster I ever knew wore a friendly face. Father Benedict wore his until the very end.